The KRGS Doors Show, proudly brought to you by KRGS Doors. For all your shopfront roller shutters, roller grills, folding closures and bifold doors, visit www.krgsdoors.com.au. Welcome to the KRGS Doors Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Blackman. The aim of our podcast is to talk to cool people with cool stories, whether it be our suppliers, customers, staff, other business owners, or people from different walks of life, and get to know them a bit better. If you're interested in coming on, drop us a line or email, or connect with us via Facebook, and we can have a chat to see what we can do. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by KRGS Doors Managing Director, Clayton Blackman, and we chat to Rugby League superstar Scotty Prince. Having played 300 NRL Games, a Premiership Winner, along with a Clive Churchill Medal winner, and representing his state, country and heritage, all from humble beginnings in Mount Isa. Please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Scott Prince. Welcome to the podcast, Scotty Prince. Thanks for joining us today, mate. How is life up there in Brisbane?
Not too bad, mate. Thanks for having me, first and foremost. I think just like everywhere in Australia and around the world, it's a little bit hard to adjust to the new way of life due to COVID-19, but slowly but surely the restrictions are lifting and somewhat normality is coming back into our lives. So all good. At least I could say the sun is shining here in Queensland.
It's the old saying, beautiful one day, perfect the next, I think, isn't it, up there in Queensland?
Yes. Oh, don't worry, it has its moments too. So it's never the same when it rains and it's an overcast day here in Queensland, but it's always good to see the sun, mate.
At the time of this recording, your borders are still closed. Is that to keep the riffraff in or riffraff out, mate?
I'm not too sure how that's operating at the moment. I'd have to say it keeps us in, but in saying that, when you cross the border in Mexico going there in blues country, and we turn into a whole different person. So it's a good thing at the moment, but not so good for our economy and tourism up here. So hopefully that will be lifted very shortly, and we'll see how we go. I don't know what it is. It's the Premiers are having a bit of a biffer at the moment.
Yeah, it seems to change every day. I don't think they can all come up with the same plan.
I just look across the Northern Territory. They're pretty much just normal as per usual. All the F45 training and touch footy's back on. So we just sit back and envy them at the moment. But, good luck to them. They've obviously done well throughout this period. So what is the Scotty Prince story, mate? My story, geez, it's quite a boring story. No, it all started, I guess, in Mount Isa. Born and raised in the country up there, in the small mining town of Mount Isa, northwest Queensland. Not many people have been there, given the fact how isolated the joint is. It's about 22-hour drive from Brisbane, 10 to 12-hour drive west of Townsville. So it's just an hour's drive from the Northern Territory border. So we're in the middle of nowhere in the deserts, so to speak. So born and raised there. Dad was a miner. Mum was a stay-at-home mum. Got an older brother who was a bit of a pain in the backside growing up. Always used to compete against him, but I think that's where I got my competitive edge. Wanted to outdo him with everything. And, so grew up there, had the opportunity to sign with the North Queensland Cowboys along the footy career. That's where I guess I had two opportunities to either sign with the Bronx or the Cows. And I'm saying this given the fact I was probably the last player, I guess, in sort of representative footy and touch football that had the opportunity to sign a scholarship. So I wasn't the most talented kid, but certainly my work ethic helped me get through those tough times and, give me those opportunities. So I left home at the age of 15 to chase that dream of being a footy player. Well, hopefully one day. Moved across to Townsville and attended Ignatius Park College. So I guess that was sort of the first initial story and journey of Princey.
What age were you when you started playing rugby league at Mount Isa?
In Mount Isa, the rugby league was a big part of the community and still is a big part of the community. The Foley Shield up there, for those who live in Queensland, in particular North Queensland, it was like the state of origin of the North. And my ultimate dream was to play for my hometown and represent Mount Isa in the Foley Shield. And I first started playing footy at the ripe age of 5 or 6 is when I started playing footy in the juniors. And pretty much played all the way through till I was 15, when sort of the junior rugby league in Mount Isa was dying due to shift work and all that with parents. So I really sort of shied away from league, and then that's when I had my first taste of touch football at the age of 15, and pretty much took over from that. Played every Wednesday, every Sunday up there at home, and then as you said, just got the opportunity to go to a couple of training camps and trial camps with both the Cowboys and Broncos, and I was pretty lucky to score a scholarship and chose the Cowboys because it was closer to home and had family there.
Do you get back to Mount Isa much now, mate?
Yeah, mate, I try to get back once or twice a year. That's something that I really made an effort to do. I think it was important, to always go back home, not only to see family and friends, but also just keep in touch on where it all started. So now, when I'm home, people talk to me as if I haven't left, and that's what I like. It's every opportunity I talk about Mount Isa. It's very proud of that hometown. It's pretty much given me that, I guess, opportunity, and just keeps me humble. Some of the achievements that I've been able to do, but always reflect on the time I had there and the people that played a role in my life, I guess, growing up, and still remain really good mates from home. Take them on the journey as I go. So, I try to get back once or twice a year just to see the hometown. Only can last 2 nights, so I've got to get out of the joint.
Hey, mate, you spoke about a scholarship with the Cowboys and a scholarship possibly with the Broncos at the same time. So you went with the Cowboys because they're closer to home. Who was the who was the coach at the Cowboys at the time, and then who was the coach at the Broncos at the time? Obviously, Wayne Bennett was the coach at the Broncos. And who was it? Was it Tim Sheens?
No. Tim come across when I was through the period when the Super League war was happening.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to launch the Super League in '96. So it was a bit of a change of guard for the Cowboys coaching staff. At the time was Grant Bell.
Oh yeah.
And they had some recruiters coming through there. Paul Heptonstall, Kelly Egan.
Yes.
I think he's been around the NRL arena for quite some time.
He's had a few clubs.
They were the two guys who scouted myself at the time and through that period. But first initial contact with Tim was 96, 97. We went over and I was with the 17s and 19s Cowboys team that was supposed to play the first year 96 in the Super League, but eventuated in 97. And the 98 first year of high school, that's when I sort of had the opportunity to play first grade. So it all started back in 98.
Straight out of high school?
Right by the age of 18.
Wow. Welcome to first grade.
As you mentioned, mate, you did make your first grade debut in 98. What were them times like playing for the Cowboys? And really that was your local club so close to Mount Isa as such? Yeah,
mate, I remember I had a bit of a laugh at the time. Always confident, I guess, in my ability, especially when I'm in my own surroundings. So mum and dad, obviously, I'm a bit of a larrikin when I'm with friends and family.
You still are, aren't you?
I do recall on the news, because where we lived in this 3-bedroom brick home at home in Mount Isa, and I remember after I had a shower, there's this hallway and it sort of opens up into the lounge, so the TV's sort of just to the right, so everyone's looking towards the TV and into the
hallway,
into the doorway. And I remember just getting out of the shower and I had the towel around me, and I overheard on the news that the Cowboys are coming in the competition, and I thought, here's my opportunity. This is what I want. This is my dream, was to become a football player. And I sort of dropped the towel and I had it just hanging over the what's doings, and I looked at mum and dad and I winked and I said, I'm going to be the next Cowboys pin-up star. And they looked at me and said, go and put some clothes on, you idiot. So that's where the dream sort of started, but never in my wildest dreams ever thought I'd get the chance to play for them.
Then you went to the Broncos. What was it like going from North Queensland to the Broncos?
Well, the way I see it, and the way at the time, and the way I say it is, I went from the shit house to the penthouse real quick. So at the time, in 2000, the Broncos were the premiers that year, and at the Cowboys, we won the wooden spoon. So pretty much jumped from the wooden spoon straight to the premiers in one full swoop. So it was difficult in terms of leaving the Cowboys and my home where I started, I guess. I always wanted to be a one-team man, and I always wanted to play and represent the Cowboys in their maiden grand final and be their captain. So that was always my dream and my goal. But at the time, due to circumstance, Broncos, I think they had Alfie retire. Kevy Walters retire, and then they had a few players through the ranks that I think Benny Walker might have been one of them. But then, as we all know, the Broncos at that time, they don't recruit a lot. And when they do, they get what they want. And hence the reason why the Wayne Bennett factor obviously played a role in doing that. So once I had the opportunity, they said they wanted to sign me. I spoke to people who I trusted, and they said, you don't want to miss this opportunity. You're going to the Premiers, playing alongside some of the greats of the game and being coached, I would regard as one of the best in the game. So you can't knock that opportunity back. So that's why I left at the age of 20, 21.
Has Wayne Bennett, mate, been a big influence in your life?
The one thing I learnt from Wayne was the competitiveness. Your job's never done, and always compete on everything. And that's something that I've taken on board in terms of the way I played. But back then I thought that, rugby league was just all about attack, and I didn't really have to to do the defensive work. So I think that sort of stuck with me throughout my career anyway.
Shoulders like a brown snake, mate, eh?
Hence the reason why I'm a half-decent touch footy player.
Haven't had to make a tackle, mate, eh?
Oh, funny. But yeah, no, Wayne was an influence on that. He was someone that instilled an expected excellence all the time, and he just had that aura about him. I've never been at a luncheon. They used to have 700-800, close to 1,000 people just sitting around talking footy, and normally with that, if there's a guest speaker on stage, there's always a group, one or two having a yarn in sort of the background. But when Wayne spoke, I'll never forget it. Like, everyone stopped and listened. And he had that aura about him where he just demanded the spotlight, and he was a coach, which obviously helped him be one of the greats, that you would do anything to impress him and also just get your job done. So that's one thing I learned from him.
I had an opportunity with Wayne Bennett when he came to St George to a function where he spoke, and the players were there. I think it was 09 when he first came to Saints, or it might have been the late 08, early 09. Same as again, mate, that you could hear a pin drop because he just had everyone's attention. I was a supporter, and I was, at the end of when he spoke, I was ready to run out and play for him. You know what I mean? It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, he certainly has that. That's certainly his strength. In comparison to Tim, Tim was very strategic, very smart coach around like skill level, and the way he looked at the game plans. As I said, strategic. Always had a plan in regards to each and every game and how we would approach it. But under Wayne, that wasn't his strength. He had really good assistant coaches around him. Obviously, senior players that would take the heat off him in that aspect of the game. But his strength is definitely player management, getting the best out of each and every player. So, that's a testament to him and the way he, demands respect from the players.
Was that tough for you to change? We're coming from Tim, where it was a lot about game plans, and we get to this point and then we attack from here, where Wayne was sort of play what's in front of you, but this is what I expect.
Yeah, I guess it was. It was something that I had to sort of deal with and overcome pretty much straight away. And as a 21-year-old, you're expected to come into this team where you got Shane Webke, Petro, Gordon, Tallis, Wendell, and you're seen as a halfback director or a game manager telling, Darren Lockyer what to do when it's your role and your job to do it. So I was a little bit overawed initially with that. Hence the reason why I sort of almost struggled a bit. But more importantly, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Drew, in terms of, Tim was very, structured in the way he played. He gave me a more of a leader role when I was still only at the age of 20, sort of calling the shots. But I knew I had to earn that off Wayne. And it wasn't until, I broke my leg and I was sort of coming back, some of those injuries I had there at the Bronx, which was unfortunate at the time. But that was something that I really talked to Wayne about. I remember pulling him aside saying, the respect and the leeway or the demands of what you give Lockie. And I know he's earned that over time. He's one of the best players in the world, but I just need that faith and let me do my thing. I need that from you to have the trust in me, and I won't let you down. And he never really gave me that. So that's something that I look back on now, and I just feel that if he did, maybe I would have stayed at the Bronx. But I guess that was a telling tale for me to move on and reconnect with Wayne. We sort of further down the track when I moved to the Tigers.
Yeah.
Not Wayne, Tim, sorry, yeah.
Was on that, what drew you to Sydney? Was it Tim to come to Sydney from the Tigers?
It was a combination of a lot of things. I guess at the Broncos, due to injuries, and it was a really tough time, especially at a young age where, as I touched on, you're surrounded by some of the great players and coached by some of the best, and it's such a great club. Like, even now, I still work here, and I'm not just saying it because I work here, but they're very professional. They just get the job done with everything. So I didn't want to leave. But I honestly only played 20 games in 3 years, so I missed a lot of football. And I was starting to get that tag of being injury prone, and I just didn't think spending a year in reserve grade would have been a really good career move if I stayed at the Bronx. So I just needed the faith in, sort of asking for Wayne, as I said in that conversation with him. But he never really gave me the confidence, saying I wanted him to tell me I'm the starting half and that's going to stay here. And that's when Tim reached out, obviously experience had with him at the Cowboys. We spoke about some younger players coming through, Benji Marshall, Robbie Farrell, the important Bryce Gibbs, and the list goes on with a few other recruits that he was picking up along the way, with Brett Hodgson, Paddy Richards, Todd Payton, Scotty Sattler. So at the time, the West Tigers wasn't a team for me. I didn't like the West Tigers. I'm pretty much open. I've always said that in my interviews. I didn't really, like the culture, the feel that when I played against them, I always copped the barrage. Darren Fenner was whacking me, taking me out late. Papa Wadi was doing things. And it was a club where it's like, I don't know if I want to go there, especially off the culture of the Bronx. So, but Tim assured that things were going to change and we're going to look to the future with obviously the juniors coming through. And right from the get-go, he just said to me, I think I really needed it at the time. He said, mate, you come here, you're going to be my starting halfback, and the only way you're going to miss out is each week is only on your performance. So that's something I needed at that time, and hence the reason why I signed for 3 years and I went down there, because the coach, in particular Tim, showed some faith in me.
Looked like, from the outside looking in, that 05 and around that era, mate, like that time, was a really close side. You know what I mean? Yourself and Benji and Robbie Farrer and Bo Ryan and all those, Molson and all those sort of blokes. It looked like it was a real tight-knit team.
Yeah, it was good. I think because back then, they would have been playing for either Balmain and West, so they already forged their friendship through the juniors.
Yeah.
And it was like just a change of guard, as I said. So as the older players were sort of moving on and retiring, obviously Tim sort of managed and picked who he wanted around in terms of leaders. So Mark O'Neill was there. He was a very good leader for the younger guys, especially on the Balmain side, as he was a Balmain junior. Johnny Scandalis was obviously
on the west side of things.
The west, yeah. So he had some really, really strong leadership groups there. Benny Galea was another who was quality. So we had a really good blend of experience, up-and-coming superstars and guys who have obviously, played alongside each other for quite some time and more importantly, very successful throughout that junior period of winning competitions. So it was really good, and hence the reason why we become, really good mates, and we enjoyed hanging out together in between training sessions, and it was great. It was a great time.
It must have been a good move, mate, because 2005 you were captain and led them to a grand final victory, and also were Clive Churchill medalist on that grand final day for best on ground. What were those times like?
Mate, well, 04, I'll sort of go back to the first year I was there. At the time I thought, what have I done? I've gone from the Bronx to receiving, there was only materialistic stuff too, because I was sponsored by Nike at the time. Of receiving, Nike shirts, shoes on a fortnightly basis just in my locker. So 10 to 20 pairs of shoes brand new underneath my bed over a month. So, and I've gone down to the West Tigers. It was like going back to bush footy. I got given two, I'm serious, 2 training shirts, 2 training shorts, and we're training at Lipcombe Oval, where we had to go and light the heater for a shower after training. And I'm sitting there going, mate, I was so spoiled up north. And you could see me, obviously Tim picked it up. I don't know what sort of behaviour I was showing, but he just pulled me aside. He said, Princey, come in here, I need to talk to you. I went into his office. He goes, mate, I've been watching you over the last couple of weeks. You've been walking around here kicking stones. If you want to go back to Queensland, you can go. I'll release you now. This was only, probably a month, 2 months into our pre-season in the first year. And I was like, no, I've signed here for 3 years and I intend to see it out. And he goes, well, pick your lip up, get back in there and stop being an arsehole or something. He said something like that to me. Anyway, so went on and that was it. So changed my attitude. And then obviously off the back of 04, we were pretty inconsistent. I think we missed the semis by 2 points. Would have been the first West Tigers team to play in the semi. Yep, so we missed that. But that was a driving force in us having a really strong pre-season in lead up to 05. So 05 again, we didn't start that well. We were inconsistent through our performances. But we did have a team goal that year where most people thought we were mad outside our first grade squad, was making the top 4. So we had that made in like posters all around training, on the training paddock. So out in the open, just to let everyone know that that's our goal. So if you were watching and looking at that thinking, mate, you guys are mad, but deep down in the group, we knew that was our goal. We were intending to do that. So fast forwarding to halfway through the competition in 05, round 13, I think we were paying 150 to 1 because we're coming 13th at the time. It was a period where our actual captain that was voted that year was Mark O'Neill. He was out with an elbow injury. I think he tore like ligaments off the bone. So it was a pretty bad injury. So he missed, I think, 10 weeks. So in that period, Tim just said, look, you know, we haven't got our captain. You're going to lead us out. And I was like, well, it's not going to change my role. I personally, I didn't really want the captaincy, only because I didn't like doing the post-game press conferences, and that's the way it was. But he said, mate, you're doing it, and that's it. Let's just get on with it. So in that period, we won, like, I think 9 straight. And then we found ourselves in the top 4, and then I guess the rest is history. So in terms of the week, Drew, in that year and leading into the grand final, most people say that's the best week of your life. I didn't think so at all. I was sat nervous. You lose sleep. You're always thinking about the game. And, yeah, I just couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait to take the field on Sunday to play in the grand final. Once I ran out to lead the boys out, I really felt at ease, and I thought, this is it. This is what we've been playing for. And, yeah, we ended up winning it.
That 05 semi-final, Princey against Saints, do you remember it?
Yeah, I do. That is still, well, obviously I'm not playing footy now, but to this day was the toughest club football game I've ever played.
The atmosphere, I was in the crowd.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid but, mate, I cried that night. I think from memory, Para played the Cowboys the night before.
Yeah.
So, the Cowboys won, so they were into the grand final. And then Saints were to play the Tigers, and I think Saints were obviously the favourite. They had Barrett, McGregor, all the star. When you looked at the two teams on paper, like the Saints were just over, and like there was a lay down was there, you know what I mean? And I think Saints were looking at next week. Oh, we win this one. We play the Cowboys next week. Like this is we had the champagne on ice ready. You know what I mean? But the Tigers put up such a great fight that night. The atmosphere at the football stadium that night was just unbelievable. It was a full house. One half was red and white, and one half was black and gold. The Tigers have stepped up, and the rest is, like you said, the rest is history now, mate.
Oh, mate, I'll never forget that. Even the game day itself, because the way I say it and the way I see it is that the further you go into the finals, the cuts get deeper. So if you bow out week 1, it's sort of like, oh, yeah, that hurts. But you go week 2, the cuts get deep. You go to the grand final, they're almost cut to the bone if you don't win it. So I remember sitting down. Normally part of my ritual is that I have a sleep game day. I normally get up, hang out with the girls, my daughters. They were very young at the time. And I remember thinking how nervous I was because I had to drive. I lived in Penrith, drive to the Sydney Football Stadium. And I remember tying my shoes up, getting dressed to jump in the car. And I remember looking at my daughter, Talia, and she was just smiling and laughing at me, like had no clue I was about to go and play the biggest game of my career. And I remember thinking and looking at her thinking, well, if I lose tonight, at least I come home and at least Talia will love me. And that's what pretty much settled my nerves. And but as we all know, being league lovers, like it's everything to us.
Yeah.
But for her, that was just a way of changing my mindset to go, you know what, if I lose, at least I've still got my little love, my little babies running around here still love me. For who
and
I am.
that 05 grand final, mate, obviously coming up against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
How was that? You playing against your home team type thing?
Yeah. It was a bit ironic, considering that I wanted to be in their spot, like wearing their jersey, representing the North Queensland region. But in terms of the way it unfolded, as far as the games were concerned, well, we played them in week 1, and I think we beat them like 52-6 or 52-10 or something. They actually did really well to fight their way back and make their grand final that year. But for us, in particular, the way it sort of worked out, we spoke about the St. George game. They had us ready for grand final, and we knew that after that game, it didn't matter who we played, we knew we were going to win. And whether that's arrogance, confidence, whatever, but that was the best prep for us because, as you said, that Dragons team had I think 5 or 6 current Australian players, and had us ready for battle.
Yeah.
And even though we were pretty much exhausted after that game, we knew that. I don't know. It was just self-belief within the team. It's that, like, you put any team up, we would definitely give it a decent crack. Yeah, so it was a really good prep for us. But even leading into the week, as I said, I was so nervous myself personally. The guys lapped it up. Like, obviously, Brett Hodgson had the opportunity to play against, played for Parramatta. He missed that opportunity when I think Newcastle put him to the sword. Only a few years later before that. Paul Fatawira was in a grand final for the Penrith Panthers in 03. He experienced that as well. But I do recall the conversations that both Royce Simmons and Tim Sheens spoke to us about their experience. But in particular, Royce just said it because if you know Royce Simmons, he's a funny old bugger, but he's just down to earth. He said to us, he goes, "Righto, boys, this is the week. Once you enjoy it, but don't get too far ahead of yourselves." He said, "I recall 2 grand finals." He said, "I lost the first one." He said, I didn't come home for a day. I was filthy. I threw that runners-up medallion in the Nepean River," he said. And he said, "But when we won it the next year," he said, "I didn't come home for 2 weeks. So the choice is yours."
Because he wanted to have a beer with everyone in Penrith.
He wanted to have a beer with everybody. He goes, "It's really up to you. You can either come home after one night or you can come home after 2 weeks."
Because he was he was Tim Sheen's assistant at the Tigers in 05, yeah?
Yeah, that's right, mate. Yeah. It was such a great balance. So you got Tim, who's just so strategic and technical, everything by the book. Like, he is your, those movies, the NFL coaches.
Yeah.
He's like he's pretty intense, and like I can deal with it. I just switch off when I don't need to take stuff on board. But like he is like the ultimate coach for me. He breaks the game down so simple. Where Royce is just a knockabout guy, doesn't take too much, serious, and but he's just a really good blend of experience there too. So they work well together. And geez, he was a funny man. I love him, Royce. Spent a bit of time at Malaysia Bowls Club with him. A couple of Bundy later. He's come in to have a beer with me. I was like, "Yeah, right." I used to went and play barefoot bowls through that period, and I think it might have been end of 04 actually. And I said, "Oh, I only drink rum, Royce." He goes, "Yeah, they got rum out there." And I went up to buy a couple. They only had that OP rum, which is the overproof. I don't remember the rest of the game. He stitched me up.
He was schooners at each end and you OP rums, mate.
Oh, mate, I was no good. I don't know how I got back to Penrith.
Mate, a year after winning the grand final at the Tigers, you went to a newly formed club, the Gold Coast Titans, and you were their captain. What was it like leaving the Tigers after success there, and then what was it like going to a new club?
Yeah, so I'm not too sure if people know, or at the time, if they remembered, that I announced, that I signed with the Gold Coast Titans before my final year in 2006. It was at a time where I really wanted to, because I was coming off contract, obviously, the following year or that year, and I didn't want it to be one of those distractions through a year where we could potentially defend our title. So I really wanted to just to get the deal out of the way, sign the contract with the Titans, and then just get on with the job, knowing that I'm there. So at the time, if I had my time again, I would have waited and done it a different way. But I just really wanted, and I pretty much put the team first from that regard, and just didn't want it to be a distraction. At the time, the hardest thing was to tell Tim, because only 2-3 months prior, we were obviously the Premiership winning side and what have you. And the hardest thing was to tell Tim that I was going home and going with the Gold Coast. So he pretty much sort of just said, well, what you're doing, I believe that you're going to be walking away from representative jerseys, staying at this club, and in saying that too, you being the club captain, you're going to have to decide whether you're going to have to stand down as captain, or I'm going to have to take it off you. And I knew that I didn't, I couldn't have all my cake and eat it too. But yeah, I just said, well, I'm going to have to stand down as captain. So yeah, I just at the time I probably thought, if I look back now, I should have just let him.
Was there ever any thoughts made at the time about staying at the Tigers, or was it just too keen to you wanted to get back home to the Gold Coast type thing?
Yeah, I think I was ready. The way I looked at my Tigers, even though I forged them, they're my brothers there now. I still talk to them today, but at the time, it was just an opportunity to, I guess, establish myself as a player. But more importantly, I just remember saying, this 3-year period, I just want to go down there and just do a job for this club, and we ended up winning it.
Won a title.
So yeah, and I just wanted to come home. I was ready. I had the opportunity, and at the time I was talking to, they gave me the leeway to talk to Queensland clubs, because I said I want to get home. They said you can't talk to any other club, but talk to Queensland clubs, and which is what I did. And hence the reason why the Titans were pretty much the only option at that stage. So yeah, it was difficult, and the hardest thing was telling Tim and telling the players that I was moving on. But in saying that, there was Anthony LaFranchi, who signed with the Gold Coast as well.
Yeah.
So that was the hardest thing. Like, if the West Tigers were in Queensland, we wouldn't have an issue.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the podcast, but we had a word from our sponsor. The KRGS Doors all aluminium grill has a sleek, easy to operate curtain manufactured from 12mm aluminium extrusion tubing connected with a 22mm wide aluminium extrude link, creating a symmetrical brick-like pattern. This combines the strength and durability of aluminium with a pleasing appearance. The all-aluminium grill allows retailers to retain visual product branding and airflow while their products are secure. The KRGS Doors all-aluminium grill can be supplied in a vast range of sizes and colours to suit all decors. For more information, visit www.krgsdoors.com.au or call 1800 897 822. Now back to the podcast.
What was that time like at the Titans? So starting out, they were brand spanking new. You were the captain. Did you feel extra pressure that you sort of had to get this club off the ground as well?
I wouldn't say extra pressure. I was really excited about the opportunity, because not every player in their career has the chance to be part of something new, like a new franchise, and build its own culture. So a lot of what I tried to instill, and just working with the senior playing group and obviously the coaching staff, is to instill a game plan. A lot of it revolved around the West Tigers, I guess, in that success of the way we attacked in terms of our footy. Trevor Gilmeister was there, so an offensive policy and stuff like that. were in good hands. But it was important for the club that they had really good senior men, which they recruited quite well at the time with Luke Bailey, Preston Campbell, Matty Rogers, I think LaFranchi, knocking on the door, representative duties at that point. So quite a lot of experience there. And, it was exciting, mate. Like, even though we were based in Adonga at the time, the first year, we trained out of Runaway Bay, used a makeshift gym, which was underneath the stadium at the Runaway Bay Sporting Complex. But the biggest recruit, I believe, for us at the time was Billy Johnston, was our infamous trainer. But he had a saying, you're not here for a holiday. And obviously he played with the Gold Coast back in the day. But that was one thing he instilled in us. And he said, look, you come here, we're going to be one fit team. And he certainly wasn't off the mark there. He took me places mentally and physically I never thought I'd go. Mate, honestly, he ripped us. We were fit.
He's got that tradition, Billy, hasn't he? Everywhere he's been, he's had that that mental toughness, not only as a player but also as a coach and a trainer, mate.
Yeah, and I remember there's a story out of that period there because we went out still on a recruitment drive, and Surly and the recruitment crew picked up that Brian Carney. Remember the Irishman, the winger, he was a strong bugger. Played footy too. I think he had a stint at the Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, he did. He got Winger of the Year there one year with the Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, a couple of years prior. So went back to Ireland, and I think Surly reached out to him and said, mate, we could potentially sign with us. We got a bit of room in the cap. Just sign for 12 months. So they ended up getting his signature, and he come over and we had a field session, and when he first arrived. So he arrived the night, and then the next morning he come down, introduced himself, had a field session. More around a little bit of fitness, more so skill. Then after he had this probably half an hour speech, it sounded like that Any Given Sunday speech there by Al Pacino.
Inch by inch.
Jesus, he's going to be good. He's going to be good for us this year. And this is what I was thinking. And we broke for lunch. We come back and we had our weight session where, for those who have done weights with Billy and under Billy as a trainer, you know what I'm talking about. It's one of those supersets. When you're into bench and you're under something else. So it's pretty much a fitness session, but with weights. And like I said, our gym was underneath the stadium. It was about 32 degrees, 35 degrees outside. No aircon. We used to close the door, so the temperature would be sitting around 38, close to 40. And this mad little Irishman, he was my weights partner. So your work time is when I'm working, that's your rest, and so forth. And I've been doing 4 weeks, so I'm sort of getting used to the training. And Brian's, this is his first time he's been training under Bill, especially in this infamous weight session. Mate, he was in a world of hurt. I think halfway through he went outside to have a chat, come back in. And all this time, his speech that morning just kept on ringing on. He's going to be great for our club. He's going to be good. He's spoken. He's going, I'm here to stay. I want to take this club. I want to put it on the map straight away. Sweet. That night, he rang Surly and Cardi. He said he wanted out. He was on the next flight. He was on the next flight back to Ireland the following day. It lasted 32 hours.
Shortest contract signing of all time, mate.
Gone. I remember saying, "Where's Brian today? I wonder how he pulled up." He goes, "He's gone. He's out." I said, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yep." He rang. He said, "I'm not up for it. Done." Hung up. Bought the next flight out.
All thanks to Billy Johnson.
All thanks to Billy. He's retired a lot of players.
Without even making a tackle.
Exactly.
Whether they wanted to retire or not, Billy decided for him.
Oh, mate. He used to say, I've got some funny stories with Bill, but he used to say he went to the University of Cunnamulla, which is this little small town here west of Brisbane. There's no university whatsoever out there. But he was so tough. But he just expected once he knew he couldn't break you had his respect, and he'd move on to the next victim.
I don't know whether he did it at the Titans, Scotty, but he did. I know he was when he did it at the Dogs. They had an option to do either field training or they had to go on the rower.
Yes.
Did he have that at the Titans as well?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
I know he broke. Daryl Halligan put his hand up one day to be on the rower rather than do the field session.
Yeah.
And he nearly died.
Oh, mate. Some of the stories, even up at the Cowboys, he had a stint up there. And Kevin Campion, he's got his skin on his face is just like paper thin. His cuts everywhere. Apparently, he was doing this 20-20-20, which is your 20 minutes on a rower, which potentially pulling like 6K, 20 minutes on a treadmill where he bumps it up to 14.5 Ks an hour for 20 minutes, mind you. That's on borderline of sprinting. And 20 minutes on either a bike or one of those mountain climbers.
Oh, yeah, mountain climbers, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember losing. I did that. I think we did that twice. It was in build-up form as a test, and the way he's got his gym set up, as I said, in terms of the temperature and so forth, the temperature's like, as I said, 38. You can lose between 3 to 4 kilos just in that
in the one session.
In the one session, and the story goes that Kevin Campion was finishing on the treadie, so you got the choice. You go quickly run over, and you got to get them.
Which one?
I want to do the treadie first. I want to do the roll first, and it's a bit of a strategic thing from the players. And he just laughs. He goes, "I'm just going to start these anyway." And Campo's running on the treadmill. 10 minutes in, he started to get all dizzy.
He's done it.
Boom! Hit the treadie, flew out the back, and he got up, and there was just like claret everywhere. Billy's like, "Mate, get back on. You got 10 minutes left, and when you clean this shit up."
He was in the blood. He was in the blood bin, mate, in the shed.
Oh, mate, he is ruthless.
You mentioned before about representative footy. So you've represented Queensland, you've represented Australia, and you also represented Indigenous in the All-Stars games. Mate, what was it like pulling those jumpers on for the first time?
Yeah, it was obviously great honour and great privilege to do it. The first one obviously was Queensland. It was the first year I was at the Tigers, like coming off the back of, as I said, 20 games in 3 years. And I never had a full season in first grade. And the way I described the first initial debut for Queensland was a bit of a Stephen Bradbury story. It was quite funny because every halfback known to man in Queensland fell over, and I was the only one
last man standing, mate.
Yeah, so I had the chance to tap on the shoulder, say, "Oh, you want to play Origin?" I'm like, "Really? I haven't really done much." Mm-hmm. They're like, "You're in. We've got no one else." I was like, "Sweet." I was so happy. Obviously, a dream for me. I was partnered in the halves with Chris Flannery.
Renikill.
Yeah, he was a Roosters man at the time. Great player too, but player that played a number of positions. So, had a really good time. Really enjoyed my experience at State of Origin level, and certainly, through that, I guess, series we went down. I remember the first game I picked up player's player, which was, I think, just off the back of nerves and sheer fear. But anyway, we ended up losing. That's when Sean Timmins kicked that wonky field goal. We remember the left.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was left-footed, to be honest with you. But anyway, he never kicked the field goal in his life. And he slotted it 40 out. Couldn't believe it. We lost 9-8. I'm like, oh, my God. Anyway, we went back up to Queensland. We beat them. That's when Billy Slater scored that freakish try, the grubber from Lockie, chipped over, regathered, try. So we ended up winning that one to level it up. And then
is that the one when he was offside?
No, he was playing, mate.
You can see who the Blues player and who the Queenslanders are.
Oh, exactly. That's like that forward pass, I think, last year or the year before from Maloney.
No, out of the hands backwards, mate. Out of the hands backwards.
It all evens itself out.
Absolutely.
And then, we got back to New South Wales and got spanked down there. I think Freddie had a blinder that night. Anyway, so moving fast forwarding, and then to 2005, obviously, I'm not too sure if you know this player. His name's Jonathan Thurston. He hit the scene.
Has he done too much in the game, or?
Oh, mate.
He's an up-and-comer, isn't he?
This guy's come in wearing a silly headguard and he absolutely brains him. And then, so only two players from the previous series, which was myself and Reece Wesser. The ironic thing about it was the fact that him and I were roommates. And to this day, I didn't steal anything out of the room. So I don't know if Reece did, but if you're watching this, please give back the bathrobes. That's why we got dropped. That's why we got dropped.
Only 2 blokes in the whole place got dropped.
And I thought, there's something going on here. We could pull the race. We could pull the races card. Well, I didn't want to do that. So we went, you know what? Let's just go with the bathrobe.
Even the minibar was intact, mate.
Oh, everything was there. Funny. Filthy. Anyway, I didn't get another look in until 08. I think it was a bit of an injury cloud around Lockie. So I got the call up there and broke my arm in the 3rd game. So didn't really have a lot of fun there in State of Origin, but it was good that I was a part of their little that 10 year reign anyway. So it's always good to beat the Blues.
Good work.
And then,
the Indigenous side, the Indigenous things, mate. That would have been with the heritage would have been outstanding to be a part of.
Yeah, not only to represent your clan or tribe, it's representing Australia and everyone around. So you had guys, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people travelling from all over to join. I guess how it started was just a chit chat and the conversation. Preston Campbell, so he was like the brains behind the whole concept. See that become a reality was awesome. You know, seeing how the best of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander players in our game up against the rest that's all it was a chat, and all of a sudden was put to the NRL and boom, here we go, we've got this All-Stars thing.
Yeah, fantastic.
So to see that come to life, which was Presto's dream, and he was sort of the driving force behind that. Obviously, with the help of some powerful people, we were able to get it done. So, that in itself was an opportunity to and the game is one thing, but it's the week leading in. So we got youth summits and positive messages throughout the community. All this messaging and emic around about healthy lifestyles, and it was just a great opportunity to get everyone together. And it's more of a celebration than actually the game.
Yeah, and it's not only on the Indigenous side of things either, Scotty. It's on the All-Stars. Like, obviously, we don't get the opportunity for those Pommy or import players and Kiwis to play State of Origin. But in that scenario, we get the likes of Sammy Burgess and Benji and James Graham and those sort of guys to play on the All-Star side of things. And it's good for the, like you said, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander heritage.
Yeah, 100%. I think it just goes to show how the multicultural, not only our countries, but also our competition. So, as you said, I mean, don't worry, there's... it's sort of I would have loved to have played alongside some of the other team as well, but they were there. I'm very proud to represent the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community in Jersey. But then you look, moving over to Australia too, so it's always great to wear the green and gold and represent your country. Had the chance off the back of the 05 Premiership winning side, and I look back now, it's pretty disappointing. I guess only 2 of us made it out of the grand final teams with Luke O'Donnell and myself. I was hoping that there were more, which has happened in the past. So, but anyway, I went away, had a really good time. We went to England for 6 weeks. Environment, you learn off the best in the game, and that's what I did. I just really took some really positive, I guess, aspects of everyone's game and applied it to myself.
Who was the Kangaroos coach then, Scotty?
Was Wayne Bennett.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was partnered up in the half with Lockie in the first test. We played England at JJB Stadium in Wigan. Lockie hurt his ankle, which was, back then we didn't know what it was. Now it's known as syndesmosis.
Yeah.
To be one of those things. And then I remember Wayne coming up to me and said, look, I've got Craig Gower and Trent Barrett here. They've obviously played alongside a lot, at Origin level and for Australia before. I'm just going to run with them in the halves. You just enjoy the rest of the tour. I was like, so that's me. He's like, yep, get your money and have a good time. So I was like, sweet. Wow. So it was a bit of a Kentucky tour for me. We might have to talk about it in the next game.
It's episode 2.
Exactly. This is the after hour show.
Yeah. Comes on at 10:30.
I'm joking.
Mate, I'll rattle some quick-fire rugby league questions at you. Who was your funniest teammate?
Funniest teammate, Sammy Thaiday.
Okay, he still comes across as a bit of a character.
Oh, I'll never forget the time. Obviously, playing in the Bronx, he was fairly young, so I sort of moved on from that point. But my experiences at State of Origin level and also through the period of, I guess, the All-Stars, he spoke about the Indigenous All-Stars, mate, he is the funniest man on the radio. So he's got his own little radio show. We sit up the front and I just feed him the content and he just, away he goes. Unbelievable.
Toughest opponent?
I'd have to say Jonathan Thurston. He was always someone that I enjoyed playing against. When you play against the best, that's why you play the game, and JT's certainly one of those. But yeah, even though it's a team sport, but there was always that individual rivalry between JT and I, but all obviously out of respect. So he certainly brought the best out of me, and I'm hoping that he would say that I brought the best out of him.
That possibly comes back to that whole competitiveness, because he seems to compete on everything and win at all cost as well.
Yeah, he's an absolute freak, and certainly that's what puts him head and shoulders above most players, the fact that he just never gives up.
Scotty, did you watch The Last Dance?
Yes, I did.
Thurston like?
Yeah. Obviously, I just not only JT, like you can almost sort of take snippets not only of your personal journey, but you can see elements of just that athlete mentality that he has, and you see it in others. And there's stories not only from even some of his teammates and Steve Kerr and stuff like that, you can sort of apply to your own journey in your life and throughout your career.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just, as athletes, they're almost built a little bit different. You can almost say, I can honestly say that it's almost a little bit selfish in regards to just focusing on you and getting the job done. Yeah, you sort of almost need to be that way in a sense to achieve what you want to achieve. Because when you look at it, you only got that short period of time to get the job, to do your thing before someone else comes up and will ultimately take your position. So
was a good series, mate.
Oh, mate, it was unbelievable. And back in the day, I still love my NBA, but through that period, I was that's the reason why I followed the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
Because of Michael Jordan. But even just used to watch a lot of tapes, and he had movies on at the time. Michael Jordan's Playground, Airtime, and all that sort of stuff. So my mate and I used to watch him all day, every day.
Yeah, it's good.
Excellent. Best sledge you've heard and the best sledger?
Best sledge I've heard. I heard a story. I've not necessarily overheard someone in a game, but the best story was, I think Joey John said someone to a young halfback, or a halfback that wasn't obviously in his league. Yeah, he said to him at a scrum, "I can't believe I'm on the same field as you." And there was one other that someone was ripping somebody and talking about how he can't wait to play him or whatever. And I can't believe it was two players. And he said, "Oh, sorry, I don't kick off at 2:00 for the reserve game. My game's at 5." I used to just laugh, and I used to sort of bottle this up and make my own story, so it sounded like I made it up. But I mean, the best of the best that I played was either, I'm showing my age here, was played against Ricky Stewart. Geez, he used to be a bit chirpy, old sticky. He used to rip me about being the youngster coming through, and they always pick on the younger guys, just to show them the ropes a bit. Probably Nolly Goldthorpe too was good. Really good mates with Goldie, but he used to rip me a bit. But the best, I wouldn't necessarily say sledger. It was just weird. Is Wendell Saylor? He used to commentate when he used to run the footy. He'd come out from dummy half. I was at the Broncos. He'd come out from dummy half. And go, "Yeah, Big Dell, you can't tackle me, Big Dell, boss, see." Mate, he'd get up and play the ball and look. He goes, "Yeah, Big Dell's here." He look at the other winger. He goes, "Yeah, I got you, Big Dell. You have to try to stop Big Dell today." I used to pass the footy and go, mate, shut up.
Used to pump his own tyres up, eh?
Oh, mate, it's funny. That's the first I've heard. I don't know if any other player would ever do that.
Not a hair out of place.
There is just back on Joey, there is a story of a young Tim Smith who played for Parramatta one night. Joey knocked the ball on or something like that, and Tim Smith gave him a spray at the scrum. And then Joey come out and actually said to him, mate, it's going to be a long fucking night for you tonight. And then after that, he just ran Steve Simpson, Ben Kennedy, like just one after the other. He just tackle.
Yeah. Can I just say, and you would have seen it and witnessed that watching The Last Dance, do not ever engage in a battle or wake up the big bear in terms of a great player. Do not ever do that. Whether you're talking shit in the media leading up to the game or trying to test him throughout a match, because they come back to bite you. We would have seen that with some of the stories of Michael Jordan.
Well, old MJ, mate, he didn't need much motivation, did he? Like, the one I liked there was one of his old coaches, like, didn't even acknowledge him, and it just stirred the fire up. He just, okay, if that's how it's going to be, let's get it on. So, and there, just
that was old Chuck Daly. He was
pull their pants down.
Well, even at the end there, where Karl Malone got MVP, and then Jordan just come out and put like 50 points on in the first game. And said, okay, next.
Yeah, he goes, I can't believe Karl Malone got MVP. I believe that I was the best player of the year. And, you know, they chose that. But anyway, I just went out and showed him who was the best player.
And then got MVP in the
finals.
Playoffs.
Yes.
Hey, Scotty, do you get that 2005 Tigers side, do you get much of a time to have reunions and so forth together?
Yeah, mate, we had our 10-year reunion. We caught up then. Which is obviously 2015. We try to catch up once a year, whether it's everyone goes to Sydney, you know, we have a steak, have a beer, you know, kick on and get into the night. But, yeah, we've obviously, you know, got each other's numbers. We send messages and make sure everyone's fine. But the beauty about, and I look at it with most teams that Tim Sheens has coached, most of these players are involved in the league, even today. So, you know, myself, I work at the Bronx. Brett Hodgson works at the Tigers. Paddy Richards, Tigers. Toddy Payton is now a coach. I think he's at the Warriors, I think.
Yeah.
He was at the Cowboys and Warriors. Scandalis is there. Shane Alford's at Penrith. Yeah, so there's like those elements of still involved in the league. Obviously, Benji's still playing.
Well, even when Tim Sheens was at the Raiders, mate, like look how many coaches came out of, you know what I mean, Sticky, Laurie Daly,
Mal,
Craig Bellamy, David Ferner.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about it, like what he's done. Like I know, you know, not only he's influenced that as well. So at the time, I know he just loves it. Have you ever had a conversation with Tim? Like he just loves his footy. I remember through that period, you know, he'll go like, boys, I'm always here. My door's always open. Come talk to me about anything. Yeah, sweet. So I remember one day I went in and I think I was having some trouble at home or whatever. And I said, Tim, just need some of your advice on something at home. And he's on and he goes, yeah, sweet. All of a sudden, within 10 minutes, he started talking about the Canberra Raiders team. And we went down the same line. And I just remember thinking after half an hour listening to this story and thinking, fuck, I forgot what we were just talking about. I'm sweet. I'm fresh. I'm good. I'm safe. Oh, mate. Just love footy.
You look at a lot of those long-term coaches like Sheens and Brian Smith, Warren Ryan, Wayne Bennett, how many coaches have come away under those guys who've learnt from them. Like Trent Robbo. We got to have a meeting with Robbo earlier in the season through Eastern Suburbs Touch that both you and I are involved with. And it was really good to talk to Robbo. And I said to him at the time, who was a coach that he looked up to? And he said Brian Smith. Like Brian Smith taught him a hell of a lot in his role for the success that he's got there at the Roosters.
Yeah, it's just remarkable, like the philosophies they have in terms of their coaching. You know, like the way that Wayne coaches in terms of like the game is so simple. It is simple. It's a simple game, but there's always ways to bend the rules and change things and have plans in place. That's coaching. Tim watches just amounts of heaps of footage all the time, wanting to change the game, and they obviously influence players around them to do that as well. So,
Scotty, you had this year you had a little bit of involvement with the women's rugby league with the Broncos at the Nines. A couple of weeks ago, we had an opportunity. We had Racine McGregor on, who I used to coach as a junior at touch footy. She come on for a chat, and did you enjoy that part, being involved with the Nines?
Yeah, mate, I loved it. Loved the involvement with the women's, and it's just great to see they're on the same path as obviously the men's. Having a national competition, so it's really good. It's a really good platform for them to showcase their skills as well. I was a part of their coaching staff in the inaugural year with the successful Broncos team. Working with some of the superstars there, Ali Brigginshaw, Brittany Rayleigh down in your territory now, the Dragons. Just seeing the skill level, which was very surprising for myself, from the fact of what they can do in the game, the hits, the intensity, the way they train, and more so the passion and the love they have for the game. It's really refreshing to see that, because they're not a lot of money. Some of the girls have obviously families, have jobs, so they're training, going back to jobs, and it's crazy. But the one thing we share about the game is the passion and the love for it. So the Nine competition was a great experience. The way I look at the Nines, it's not really football; it's more for the crowd and seeing the tries and so forth. So I just can't wait for the women's game, the 13 men's side game. We'll be back for the women's this year. Yeah. So I will be a part of it once it gets up and running.
On the Nines, mate, you've seen some legends come back. Have you thought about strapping the boots on again, having a run round? You're still looking fit as a fiddle.
I thought about it. That's probably where it stopped. No, I did put my hand up, but it's almost like they look at you and and they go to another direction. So it's all good. So I'm more than happy to run the water and break people as we go. But
I need you for touch, mate, not tackle.
All right. No, I'm happy with that. I'm a rooster down there.
I don't need you to make any tackles at the Roosters.
That's it, brother. That's it. I've been preparing for the upcoming season.
Mate, out of all the clubs, Cowboys, Broncos, Tigers, Titans, did you have a favourite?
Yeah. I have the way I look at it, I had my Tigers days where I loved it. If I had one regret in footy, was leaving the Tigers when I did. I probably should have stayed another 2 or 3 years and moved in closer, because I was in Penrith, as I said. Great time at the Tigers. Football was just outstanding. The time we had on the park, I just really enjoyed my football. Obviously, winning helps. Broncos, I really enjoy the Bronx because very professional. Have really good mates at the Broncos. So, yeah, probably I don't know, probably the Tigers. It's hard, mate. When you win a premiership with a club, it's hard to
with
say
that.
that.
When you say you regret leaving the Tigers, did you ever tell Tim Sheens that you regret later on that you regret leaving the Tigers then?
No. No, I didn't. I just thought, it's one of those things where I left him one time because I moved from the Cowboys to the Bronx.
Yeah.
And we finally went to the Tigers, and I guess we did a job. We won a premiership there. So
yeah,
I felt like I owed him one, and he was able to do that. And we both got something out of it. He got another premiership, and I got one. So yeah, even though I actually reached out to him post my career just to go over and play, because he was doing some coaching and coaching director role over at Kingston Rovers over in the UK. So I reached out to him, said I'd love to come over and play, help us get back in the Super League, and then having the plan of staying on and maybe doing an assistant role under him.
Yeah,
that's how much respect for him. Yeah, so it wasn't the big, because you had to play a certain amount of the games, and they've got like visa stuff over there where you have to be playing top level before you can move, which I wasn't. So,
did you get any offers, mate, to play over in the Super League?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, as a 20-year-old, I had an opportunity to go to the London Broncos, but back then, which was 2000, normally if you left the NRL, you couldn't come back. You know, you're seen as probably, you know, especially the competition at that time.
Yeah.
Here's the NRL. Here's a league. It wasn't,
Yeah.
you know, coached at that in those times. But had the chance to go to London Broncos, knocked it back because I wanted to play Origin. And then sort of the back end of my career, I was probably a week off from signing with Hull FC before I signed with the Bronx and retired a Bronco.
Okay.
Nice. Mate, to wrap up the podcast, we ask our Fast 5 questions, and it's just, again, rapid fire, just to get to know you a little bit better. What would be your last meal?
I'd have to say salmon, eggs Benedict.
Wow.
Haven't had that one, have we?
No, that is a...
I love it, eh? Hollandaise sauce.
You actually don't mind posting a meal on your Instagram page either, do you? Hey?
Oh, it's better than Josh Moss doing a selfie.
True. You do think you're a bit of a Jeff Jantz in the kitchen, though, don't you?
Mate, I've had to learn. I've had to, like, in this isolation, I'm like the fittest, drunkest master chef.
Well, that leads us on to our next question. You may have already answered it before. What's your drink of choice?
I've got a few.
Apart from OP rum.
Yeah, no, I'd have to say I love a 4X and I also love a good Bundy. The Bundy Black. I'm not too sure if they make them anymore. I've got a couple of bottles up there in the pantry, but a good Bundy Black. Oh my God.
Let's hope we get Bundaberg rum on as a sponsor or something like that in the future.
Mate, I can.
Spoken like a true Queenslander though. 4X and Bundy.
Yeah. Didn't even mention Tuies, did he?
Tuies, no.
Oh, that's desperate times there. That's when you're struggling. You're out in the ocean. That's all you got. Yeah, you try this one.
Mate, what's the thing you're most afraid of?
Crocodiles.
Yeah, I can't blame you there.
Yeah, that's easy.
No. Most afraid of. Oh, geez. Oh, mate, wait, you know what? Before I go to sleep, you know when you're in that period of just drifting off, I always have a dream of being eaten alive by a croc. I don't know why.
Wow.
So you're not into leather goods or anything like that, mate?
No.
What is your favourite?
Other leather goods, I am. Too much. Oh, that's on the other show.
That's on the other show.
That's the latest show, mate. That's the latest show.
What is your favourite TV channel?
I have to say Channel 9 or Netflix. Is Netflix a channel?
Yes.
Yeah, you can have that one, mate.
Yeah, we'll go Netflix.
Yeah, I think, and I mentioned it before, that's the way of the future. I think TVs, everything's just going to be streamed on demand.
Yeah, well, I've been in this apartment now for just on almost 12 months, and I don't have a connection with the antenna. It's all just streamed.
Yes.
So if my Wi-Fi falls over, he's gone. No TV.
No TV.
You'll be in the fetal position.
And talking about falling over, I've only got probably 2% left on this phone.
We've got one more question.
We've got one more question, mate. And if heaven does exist, what would God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well done, Princey. You've done well with your life. No. Do you want a rum?
Yes. I thought you'd never ask.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's been a tough ride. Yes, sir.
Rum's in the fridge.
Yes.
Rum's in the fridge. Make yourself at home.
We do appreciate you coming on and giving us a little bit of insight into the Scott Prince life. You should be extremely proud of what you have achieved. 300 NRL games, and to top it off, just an all-round champion bloke as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And current Eastern Suburbs Rooster Premier League touch player.
Premier League touch player.
I look forward to the upcoming season.
Did you? That's Premier League touch player. He hasn't even had a training session, and he's already in the side.
Oh, he's got a trial.
Hang on a minute. Trial.
Yeah. I'm happy with that. I've got to earn my stripes. I've been doing it for most of my life. Got to earn it, mate. Got to earn it.
Mate, we do appreciate you coming on. Thank you again. Look after yourself and take care, buddy.
See you, boys.
Thanks, Princey.
Mate. You take care. Cheers, mate. Bye.
That wraps up our chat with Scotty Prince, rugby league legend and all-round good guy. If you have missed any previous episodes of the KRGS Doors podcast, you can download them from our website, www.krgsdoors.com.au/podcast, or on your favourite podcast player, search KRGS Doors. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. This also boosts our ranking and my ego. The other thing I suggest, if you have enjoyed the podcast, head to your favourite podcast player and leave a review or a rating. On our next episode, we speak to accountant Jim Bazanius of MPK Accounting. Along with counting numbers, Jim loves counting tackles as head coach of Cronulla Sharks under-16s, assistant coach to Newtown Jets and the Greek national team. I've been your host, Drew Blackman, and you've been fantastic for tuning in today. As always, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. Thanks. Till next time.